All right, I gotta give myself one of those already because when this is up like this, the microphone is muted. So I really would have to talk loud to you hearing anything because I think in a Discord chat a while back I burped really loud and it's like, oh, that was a good one. It's like, oh, you heard that because my microphone was like this. But but anyways, welcome in, and hopefully we won't do anything else stupid here. But we'll get through it here and get to the weekend here. Um, Remember I told you that I was going to tell you about also eligible this weekend. That will be coming up later in the show. I'm going to make you wait for it. Um, I talked to AJ. I sent a quick text to AJ today, and it wasn't looking for his approval because I told you before. Um, as long as it's a half decent idea, he'll go with it. So we'll get to that later on. So, but coming up, we got a lot to talk about here. Got breaking news out of MLB. Um, sort of breaking news from North Broad Street, well, 20th Street. Howie Roseman uh, taking advantage of a situation that occurred last week at the parade. Um, Legislation in Congress, which is interesting. Parimutual racing on NASCAR. I'll tell you about that as well. And the return of the stupid shit I saw segment. This one's a doozy. And if you follow me on Instagram at Joe Quills, I did hint that I was going to talk about this. Now, I talked about it, but I was like, hey, if this is a legitimate story, it's going to be in the show tonight. So I did some research. It is legitimate and it is recent as well. So that makes it even better for the stupid shit I saw segment. Now, with what happened, I'll just leave it at that. The stupid person should be executed, but he won't. He'll get like a couple years in jail or whatever. But then he'll be like, "Oh, what'd you come here? What'd you go into jail for? Oh, capital murder. Oh, what'd you do? This." Be like, but you get the idea. And we'll, if anything pops up along the way, and if you want to chime in, feel free to do so. If you're watching on the Bleacher Brothers X, chime away. Feel free to do so. My Twitch, twitch.tv/Joe Quills, and in the bleachers Twitch, in the bleachers YouTube, and my YouTube. So giving you different ways you can watch the show, both live and also after the fact. I'm going to be working on those audios tonight. Going to get at least the Tuesday show up tonight, and hopefully the Wednesday show as well. So if you can't stand my mug, and trust me, I can't stand it because of all the facial hair growing in here and all that, and refusing to shave. Yeah, that's another option that I give you guys is an audio podcast, which is basically just audio of these shows. So all different ways you can consume the show here, live and at your own leisure. So, but most important thing is if you're watching me, come on over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Joe Quills. Hit that follow button. It's that little heart there. Show me some love. And when you do, watch the show, share the show, let everybody know about the show because, if we have more people talking about the show and, maybe I can reach affiliate and make a couple of bucks on the side. And trust me, a couple of bucks is probably all it'll be. But, and also, once I get to affiliate, I'm never going to say, hey, donate or anything like that. I'm not that type of person. The option will be there, but it'll be you wanting to do this and not because I am asking for it. Because the thing I hate the most is somebody that has their hand out like this. Trust me. There was a family member that always had her hand out, even though her husband made twice the money that I did. But anyway, so that's a story for another day. But hope everybody's doing well. Freezing cold here in Philadelphia yet again. Snowed a little bit. Got a little dusting of snow there. So a little bit of sunshine tomorrow morning, and the stuff will melt. I mean, it kind of looks like that somebody haphazardly painted something. You know what I mean? So there's like little splotches of white around the street here to my side here, and also the cross street that dead ends into that street there. So I'm also keeping an eye on USA and Canada. They're 1-1 after one. And I might as well give you the update here of what I was looking for. Most importantly, I wanted to see if A, Canada's anthem will be booed. And it was. Not to the extent that I was hoping, but it was still booed. And that may be because half the crowd was Canadian or whatever the percentage is. So you have a lot of Canadians there. Then on top of that, it seemed like everybody got a copy of the words of the American national anthem because they were singing it in Boston, which shocked the hell out of me. And the one thing is with me, whenever I watch a sporting event, and we're talking about an anthem before the game, we're not talking about an anthem after the game, like after an event like at the Olympics or anything like that. You have America, and you're just standing there, in reverence to the flag. However, you are in reverence to the flag. Hopefully not being bossed by Dan Baker to salute the flag, which is a travesty unto itself. But one thing I do have to give credit for, one thing that Dan Baker would never do, the PA announcer at TD Garden said, stand up if you're able. So obviously, he gets the fact that there's always a possibility that someone has an issue where they cannot stand. They're in a wheelchair, they're they're in a they got they got crutches or anything like that. You know what I mean? So, but if you are able-bodied enough to stand up for the flag, he recognizes that, and that's something Dan Baker won't do. You know, and remove your hats. I'm kind of okay with that, but that's the way America is. That you have to be told to remove your hats, as opposed to fans saying, "Hey, take your hat off," because these fake American patriots will come after you because, oh, you forgot to take your hat off. But a little surprised that that those in Boston did sing the anthem. Guarantee you, the next home game that the Boston Bruins have, there's not going to be as much singing, if at all, like like this hockey game tonight, because it's about country pride and all that. It's American patriotism, which, in my opinion, falls well below Canada. You don't even, you know, I mean, like, talk about Edmonton last year. The guy is actually in the crowd beginning the anthem, and he sings the first part and then goes like this with the microphone, and they just sing the rest of the song. Doesn't even, they don't even have to tell the Canadian crowd, "Hey, we want you to join in." They know because they have something called pride, which I question with a lot of Americans. And I'll tell you what, nice to see we had some people in Boston. Now, how true their pride is, I'm not sure. I don't know if they got the words to the anthem or not. I don't know if they pulled it up on their phones, but it was nice to hear the anthem sung, not only by whoever it was that sang the anthem. I didn't make a note of the name, and I didn't make a note of the Canadian singer because I never know how to pronounce her last name, Chantal something or other. But um, but I'm happy that America did show some pride for once by singing the anthem because the thing is, and I've said this quite a few times. Um, I said this quite a few times, and the Sixers lost by 20 tonight. Shocker. Um, One way that you can tell how some countries are, look at a major national soccer tournament event now, an international soccer event. Like, for example, the World Cup in 2026, which will be here in Philadelphia as well as other cities throughout the country and also in Mexico and in Canada. You have these third world countries that are coming to America for this event. And the one thing I will say is when you look at those third world country soccer players, they're singing like they're singing for their lives because if you don't sing the song, probably. So, um, but I really feel like, and hopefully we don't get to the point where, you know, the guy in office in at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue requires us to sing. I wouldn't hold it against him because I get the feeling he would try to do that. Um, but it would be a major embarrassment if that were to happen. But um, I mean, I admit I don't really sing the anthem because first of all, I want people to enjoy the anthem, and also they don't need to hear me sing. But you know, I know you're saying, "Oh, now you're a hypocrite because you meant that." No, I just feel like that you have to respect the anthem in a certain way, and sometimes you have to sing the anthem. And with what Canada did last week, there was some retribution that had to be paid. So, but it does look like that. Um, you know, we booed a little bit, but the Americans that are there in Boston sang their asses off. So, but so we have that, and um, we will make a note of that. And you know, thankfully everything's okay. Mike, welcome in. And yeah, they did sing the anthem in Boston, which shocked the hell out of me. And I uh, I have a funny story for you, Mike, off air. Um, when you come up on Monday, if I remember to tell you it. Um, it does involve one person in particular. Um, you can guess on text. Yeah, don't don't put it on the don't put it in the chat. You can text me. I can tell you what it is. But anyways, or if you just want to wait till Monday, you can wait till Monday because that way I can tell you the story and everything. But anyways, let's get to it here. The main portion of the show here, and saw this pop up within the last couple of hours. Um, Major League Baseball may no longer be aired on ESPN after this season. That is because they have mutually agreed to terminate their contract after the 2025 season. This is according to a league memo from MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, obtained by the Athletics' Evan Drellich. And I think I think they have one more year. They it doesn't mean that they're going to stop altogether. There's a possibility you could have baseball on ESPN in 2026, but we'll get into that. The two parties were under contract through 2028, but there was a March 1st deadline for either of them to opt out. So, in the memo, Manfred also reportedly complains that MLB has not been pleased with the minimal coverage that MLB has received on ESPN's platforms over the past several years outside of its actual live game coverage. Well, part of it, and we'll get into how they've structured over the past few years, past 20 years, we can get into that and wonder, well, actually, MLB could be a part of it too. They could be to blame as well. But um, we'll get into that in a second. Um, MLB, I'm sorry, ESPN has been reportedly asking for MLB to take a lower rights fee than the 550 million average on the existing deal. MLB declined, with Manfred reportedly asking he expects at least two potential options in the coming weeks. So Manfred allegedly is not happy that ESPN's not carrying that much baseball in the regular season. Um, so um, the MLB released a public statement pointing to ESPN decreasing their baseball coverage, but not ruling out a return. But they're not ruling out a return. So, um, so the MLB statement said, "We have had a long and mutually beneficial partnership with ESPN that dates back to the first MLB game in 1990. Unfortunately, in recent years, we have seen ESPN scale back their baseball coverage and investment in a way that is not consistent with the sport's appeal or performance on their platform. Given that MLB provides strong viewership, valuable demographics, and the exclusive right to cover unique events like the Home Run Derby, ESPN's demand to reduce rights fees is simply unacceptable. As a result, we have mutually agreed to terminate our agreement." But but the thing is, I don't know what the contract says, and I don't know when when this last contract was put together, because it may just be um it may be worded as let's say based on 1990 things, and then there's like an addendum to it, kind of like uh if Mike remembers the collective bargaining agreements that we would get from our union at Redacted Company. um you would have you have these addendums that you put at the back of the book. So, there may have been something where it says, okay, well, we're going to do 100 games a year. The 24, 25 games on Sundays, and we'll pick a bunch of days during the week, like maybe on Wednesday nights. It used to be Wednesday nights used to be a doubleheader night on ESPN. Now, granted, when ESPN first got Major League Baseball, there wasn't even thoughts of the MLB network because there was no NFL network as well. I mean, now you got NBA TV, you got NHL network, you got MLB network, you got the NFL network. So you do have all these networks that, you know, they show a lot of these games. Um, Now, ESPN released their own statement saying it's still open to covering MLB and throwing out the term super serve in the process. "We're grateful for our long-standing relationship with Major League Baseball and proud of how ESPN's coverage super serves fans. In making this decision, we applied the same discipline and fiscal responsibility that has built ESPN's industry leading live events portfolio as we continue to grow our audience across linear, digital, and social platforms. As we have been throughout the process, we remain open to exploring new ways to serve MLB fans across our platforms beyond 2025. Now, I can tell you from looking at the MLB schedule from time to time, um, you go to ESPN page and then you click on MLB, you click schedule, and you get the day schedule, maybe 2 or 3 days worth. Um, Occasionally, they would simulcast a game on the ESPN Plus platform. So let's say it's the Pirates and the Cubs. So if you're not in the Pittsburgh or Chicago markets or somewhere there's a blackout because you're in their those teams' territories, you can watch that game on ESPN Plus. So, a lot of times it wasn't the best games, but you got an opportunity to watch some extra games. Now, I don't know if that was figured into the contract as well. I don't know. I don't have the details of the latest contract that they had that's going to be expiring now with the opt out. But um, but it's amazing that they've been. But if you really think about it, Major League Baseball and ESPN have been together for 35 years. Uh, a span in time in which Sunday Night Baseball became an iconic part of the league broadcasting schedule, and also airs the long-running Baseball Tonight Show, the Home Run Derby, and various playoff games. Now, the MLB playoffs, I was even saying the other night, it was refreshing to see um, Michael Kay at the Yankees calling division se- uh, a wild card series. He called the Philly series in 2022 with A-Rod, and it was refreshing to see somebody who obviously is someone who's a homer for the Yankees because he has a contract to be their radio guy. It was refreshing to see somebody show that he can do a national game and not be biased in either way. Kind of like how we talked about Joe Buck last night, I think it was. And we were saying that he's going to be doing opening day at Yankee Stadium this year. And and I said to you guys, I've never had a problem with Joe Buck because, if he's getting excited about the other team, it isn't necessarily because he hates your team. It's the emotion of the moment. And like for example, I have the 2008 World Series downloaded to my computer, and when you watch it, even though 2014, for example, because it popped in my head because a video of him was shown on TV, he was real excited over the pop foul, but that was because he had bases loaded or something like that. But with the Phillies in 2008, it was kind of like the way of Joe Garagiola in 1980. Um, they didn't. They let the crowd take over, and sometimes the best announcers know that they can just let the crowd speak for the moment, and that's what Joe Buck did in 2008. Even though some will say otherwise, Joe Garagiola in 1980, and many announcers will do that as well. Um, so, but the corporate breakup is the latest move in the transitional period for MLB broadcasting. The setup about a decade ago was pretty much straightforward. Every team had a regional sports network as its main financial engine, with national broadcast deals with Fox, ESPN, and TBS, and the revenue from the league's MLB TV streaming platform lifting all boats. But the drawback was local blackouts. So if I had MLB TV and I want to watch the Phillies game over the computer because, maybe my TV's not working, maybe the cable's out, maybe I'm watching on my phone for as long as I can while I have a power outage during a summer storm because the Phillies are on the West Coast. You can't watch it because of the blackout rules that they have in Major League Baseball. Or if you have a game game on ESPN Plus, Phillies and Pirates are playing a Friday night game, and ESPN chose to put that on the Plus platform, even though it's not really a game that they'll probably put on there next year because I expect the Pirates to do some damage this year, and who knows what the Phillies will do. But, you know, if you were to try to watch a Phillies game, even on ESPN Plus, they'll block you out. They'll black you out. But but we've had cord cutting. You know, people have been cord cutting for years. But if you think about it, with all the cord cutting, you're finding out when you're getting all these streaming services that it costs just as much as your cable bill that you had, or even more. Or if you compare what it would have been now to what you're doing, it's about the same. So basically, you're just throwing your money in another empty pit. But the ongoing decline of cable network subscribers has thrown off the math behind those deals. Diamond Sports Group, which ran more than a dozen teams' RSNs under the Bally's name, they went bankrupt and shed some of those deals, with some of the teams affected starting their own streaming service under the league's guidance. Now, MLB has reached deals with pretty much any streaming service that will pick up Manfred's phone calls. Apple TV and the Roku channel both have deals with MLB. Peacock's was previously in the mix, and Amazon Prime even is getting in on some of the New York Yankee games. Now, I will say one thing. Now, Roku, I don't like their YouTube, and Amazon Prime must be salivating right now. Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, you used to be able to watch games on YouTube as well. I think the Phillies had a game on YouTube a few years ago that was exclusive to YouTube. Um, but I will tell you one thing. If you have a Friday night game on Apple TV, now let's say you have two announcers or maybe even three in the booth where you're basically saying,
"Who the fuck is that guy?"
Let's say you're saying that. You can actually change the sound from the TV announcers to your local radio announcers, and it's pretty much in sync too. Unlike, let's say, you have the TV and you have your radio next to you and you turn the radio on, there's always that delay in some way. Either the TV's too fast or the radio's too fast. Mike knows about the radio possibly being too fast with the cable box that we have here, because I put an antenna on the living room TV for the Super Bowl. But I will say this: Apple has the best graphics. They're very clean. Now, granted, we could do without um, some of the analytical shit that they have on there, but they do have the best graphics, and they give you that option of listening to, especially if it's a Phillies Friday night game, you can listen to the Phillies radio broadcast, especially if it's a home game, because you'll get LA. Larry Anderson with Scott Bransky. And, those that want to hear their own radio guy, you can listen to their guy. Or you just deal with the TV or just mute it. But it's a great option, and hopefully um, you won't be able to listen to John Kruk on Amazon Prime. Um, let's say you find out that there's a Friday night game and it's on Apple TV, and you realize, oh shit, Joe's got Apple TV. He's got Apple TV Plus. See ya. I'm going to see Joe. I could put on the radio settings for audio, and you will hear Scott Fransky and Larry Anderson. Or if they're on the road, I think it's Kevin Stocker who does the games on the road. So John Kruk is only on TV, and he's only on um, the Phillies broadcast. Now, they may pull John Kruk on Roku, for example, because Roku pretty much piecemeals the announcer crew. And when the Phillies had a Roku game last year, um, I think it was last year, or it may have been on Peacock the year prior. You could tell John Kruk was not happy with having to work that Sunday game because it wasn't like it was the Phillies local broadcast where he got to wear the Phillies polo shirt or a T-shirt and he got to wear his Phillies cap and everything. He had to take the hat off, wear a suit and tie, and act like he was professional. But and Mike said, Pat would love that. Me out of the house. Yup. I'm gonna tell her you said that too. But 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 the Roku channel thing, that's free as well. Apple TV, it's a cost. I don't mind it because I also have the MLS package. I'd like to watch the Philadelphia Union games, and every once in a while you get a game that's worth looking at. The Union open up Saturday night, I believe, in Orlando. Orlando. But the league very clearly sees streaming both in and out of market as the future of its business. ESPN and its parent company Disney do have their own streaming platforms, but the deal as it was currently constructed apparently wasn't the way to do it. So I don't know if that means that they're going to, if they include streaming on the ESPN platform if they do it. But the thing is, ESPN, they have rights to basically everything. They got Monday Night Football. They have NHL now. They have NBA. They have the WNBA. Um, you know, college basketball, college football. I mean, there's rarely a night that you don't have a sporting event starting at 6 or 7 o'clock on one of the networks. Now, I don't think Major League Baseball has a problem with going from ESPN to ESPN2. Now, if you go from ESPN2 to ESPNU or ESPNU or ESPN Plus, I mean not ESPN Plus, ESPN News, then they might have a problem. But they never had a problem going on ESPN2 for a game because they had to show something on ESPN, like maybe they had a football event or whatever. But they don't have a problem with ESPN and ESPN2, but and also you have the streaming part of it, and there's so many things that they can do. But the way that the contract was probably originally written back in 1990, there was no thought of streaming because the internet was barely born. At least I think it was born then. Got to ask Al Gore about that. Um, you also have, um, you know, all this, all these different ways you can watch games now. That these contracts have become obsolete, and if ESPN wants to get into this, keep this, they're going to have to open Major League Baseball to ESPN Plus more. You know, maybe even buying the MLB TV package so that they can control it and get a piece of it. I mean, there's so many different things right now, and I'm sure that there's some networks. And Mike said YouTube and Amazon Prime. Yeah, Amazon Prime's trying to get into everything. YouTube, Netflix, you name it. But the one thing that sucks about streaming is, and this is me being someone who doesn't want to have the play ruined because, um, have the play ruined because the alert already comes up on my phone. And I like sitting with the phone there because if I want to make a comment, I'm not on the computer. I can make a quick tweet or a Facebook post, but you know, but sometimes you have to deal with that because there is that delay of transforming that data onto your TV screens, whether it's your HD box that I have the um, or even the internet, because there's going to be a delay. There's always going to be a delay on TV. It's just that with the Super Bowl when Mike was here, we mitigated that delay and not having the neighbors in my apartment ruining it for us because they were screaming that the Eagles scored a touchdown and we're like 2 plays behind. All right, we're a little exaggeration with that, but you get the idea. But but be interesting to see what happens, and you know, who knows? Maybe. I mean, here's one idea that I have right now. Turner lost. Turner lost the NBA. I wonder if they would expand their coverage of Major League Baseball. It's always a possibility. Because the one thing is, even though ESPN believes they can get a new contract done and new terms and all that, you could have another provider come out of nowhere and say, "We want this shit." Boom. So, um, so be interesting to see, and hopefully, you know, we find out who it'll be, and hopefully there's still Sunday night baseball because after a long day, you want to relax. You find out that first of all, your team won, and you find out your rival is playing on ESPN. You want to laugh when they lose 13-2. You know, some of the things you can do, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, I did see this today, and this is local breaking news, and this show has the vibes of this show has the vibes of my originally named show, The Philly Guy Speaks, because we have some Philly news here coming up. And depending on how the script would flow, or I try to make it flow, I would have Philly related stories and work my way outward, or start on the outside and work my way in. Well, we're going from the inside out tonight. And I think it's safe to say that I can call this guy a coaching legend. And I know some people outside the city of Philadelphia would probably say,
Who the fuck is that guy?
but LaSalle coach Fran Dunphy is retiring at season's end. And I think this time, this is the actual retirement. I'm not saying that just to slight him or anything like that, but think about it. He's 76 years old now. He planned to retire a few years ago when he was with Temple, and LaSalle came calling, "Hey, can you help us out short term?" He did it. He served what he had to do, and good for him for being able to retire on his terms, or at least we think it's on his terms. Um, so Fran Dunphy, he's the winningest coach in Big Five history. Philadelphia Big Five, if you know what that is. They announced on Thursday that he announced on Thursday that he will retire from his position at the end of the season. He's going to transition to the role of special assistant to the president LaSalle, his alma mater, agreeing to a lifetime contract for that role. Now, I don't think this is an NIL thing. Because first of all, and Mike agrees with me, Fran Dunphy is a legend. Unlike Jay Wright, who's another Philly legend, he, you could guess that it was NIL. He may have even admitted it, but he may not have. But I don't think this has anything to do with NIL. Also, LaSalle, they don't have the funds for NIL too much, um, but I think this is just because he's 76 years old, and he probably did what he promised he would do with the university, and he's going to go into this role that was created for him until the day he dies. Um, Dunphy said, "I will forever be thankful to LaSalle as well as my fellow coaches and players that I've been fortunate to work with throughout my coaching career. I'm looking forward to finishing the season strong with our team. And as I embark on the next chapter of my life, I could not be happier to stay with LaSalle and work with President Allen, Athletic Director Ash Puri, and this great university that I call home." And he's been a head coach for over 30 years in Philadelphia. Um, he coached at Penn, Temple, and LaSalle. Now, he's the only Big Five coach to coach more than one Big Five school, and he's coached three. Um, he made 17 NCAA tournament appearances, 9 at Penn, 8 at Temple. And Penn, that was, you had to win the conference because they didn't have the tournament back then. They didn't have conference tournaments. Um, he also had 8 straight appearances from 2008 to 2013 when the Owls were in the Atlantic 10. He won 10 Ivy League regular season titles, a pair of Atlantic 10 regular season titles, and the 2016 AAC regular season title. Now, he started as a coaching assistant at Army in 1971, spending time as an assistant at LaSalle, American, and Penn before becoming the head coach at Penn in 1989. He replaced Ashley Howard in 2022 as the Explorers head coach. They went 15-19 in year one. Last year, they went 16-17. Right now, they're 12-5 with a 4-10 record in the Atlantic 10. And the school did say they're going to conduct a national search to find Dunphy's successor. Yeah, that's something that all schools say. We're going to conduct a national search, um, but yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with NIL. I mean, maybe I'm just not reading between the lines or anything like that. I just think that he served his 3 years. He did what he said he would do with the school, and they totally redid the arena. And I think he said, okay, I did what I had to do, and now we're going to uh, move this move this basketball program forward with me behind the scenes, and somebody else is the head coach. Uh, so we'll see. You know, we'll see how LaSalle does over the next couple of weeks. See if they get a surprise berth in the NCAA tourney. Looks like we could have another year with no teams from Philly in the tournament, but Um, I do want to mention one thing that isn't on here. Um, I found this out this morning, and this was on Crossing Broad. Apparently, Jason Tatum went to the Philadelphia Catholic League semifinals last night at the Palestra. I'm sure he called. Uh, I'm pretty sure he called the athletic department at Penn and said, "Don't you know who I am? I'm Jason Tatum. I want a ticket to the game." And you got to find something to do sometimes, and pretty much that's pretty much a safe place to go. High school basketball. And I'm going to say this right now. Um, and it wasn't the prep kids that did this. And I don't know if he stayed for both games or he just stayed for part of one, or he just said the hell with this shit and left when this chant started. Um, Apparently the Roman kids, because their student body was a little bit bored uh, when they defeated Devon Prep by 24. Um, Apparently they started a "fuck the Celtics" chant. I'm sure the athletic director, the principal, whoever at the school, if they were at the game, they probably were like, "Oh no." But I'm proud to say it was not the prep that did it. Now, whether they did it in the second game or not, that's a topic for another day. But uh, Roman realized who that was, realized that he was with the Celtics, and started that chant. Now, I don't know if that permeated around the arena and everybody got involved, but um, he ended up got greeted with um, uh, now the reason why he may have been at that game. Tatum has a former Celtics teammate on the Roman Catholic coaching staff, Brad Wanamaker, who's now retired after a really interesting globetrotting professional career. He's now assistant for Roman, and his son is going to Roman. Um, so that's probably why he was at the game. So probably talking to his former teammate, he said, "Hey, come see my kid play." And unfortunately, some of the student body went, "Fuck you, Celtics," or "Fuck the Celtics." Fuck the Celtics. Well, we could say that tonight as the Sixers lost by 20 tonight. And if I had the time today, I could have jumped on Celtics minus 7.5 because there's all kinds of things that were going on there. So, but um, but yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But I did want to add that part there that Jason Tatum was spotted at the Roman Devon Prep game, and the fans at the Palestra recognized him. Let's just say that. Now, I think since we're far enough in, and Canada just scored to tie the game 2-2. Um, uh, I don't know. I mean, it's a typical Philly thing that we do, but but in the terms of the whole Catholicism thing, I mean, I'm sure that's a mortal sin that they did. Fuck the Celtics, but whatever. So I got a question, and should I? make my announcement now that I was teasing the other night, or should I wait until later in the show? I mean, we're almost an hour in, so I might as well tell you guys what it is. Um, because the one thing I said was that, well, I'm going to do it now, whether Mike tells me to do so or not. But um, Oakland Park, Oakland Park on earlier this week, they pushed everything back a day. So the races that were planned for today are going to run tomorrow. The races that were planned to be run on Friday are going to run on Saturday. Or no, they didn't have races on Thursday. They just push everything back Friday to Saturday, Saturday to Sunday, Sunday to Monday. So I hinted to AJ during the Bleacher Brothers show last night. I'm going to have an announcement during the show about also eligible. And basically I had to do some research because um yeah, I had to see if what I was thinking I was going to do is viable for this week as a 1 week thing, because the Saturday races I was looking at were shifting to Sunday. And it is viable. So also eligible will be live on the Bleacher Brothers Network, not just on Saturday, as the graphic says, but I will be doing a special Sunday morning show that'll be Oaklawn Park centric, where they will have the I always forget the I'm forgetting the filly race. Okay, so they have the Honeybee. They have the Honeybee, which is a prep for the Kentucky Oaks. That is a grade 3 race for $500,000 for fillies going a mile and the 16th. Then you have the Rebel, which is for a prep for the Kentucky Derby. They have a full field of 14 in that race. That will be late on Sunday afternoon. So you have two big races. Actually, you have one, two, three, four, five races that I'll be looking at on Sunday, where we'll look at the Rebel and the Honeybee. They're the Oaks and Derby, the Derby and Oaks races. You got the Razorback Handicap, which is a race for older horses, the Carousel, a sprint race for older horses, and the Trivista, which is a older filly and mare race going a mile and 16. So we'll be looking at those five races on Sunday. Now on Saturday, we are also going to look at we're basically going to be doing four races from three different tracks. Maybe do five, depending on the um, how the program looks for the race at Aqueduct. But we're definitely going to look at the two big races of the day at Tampa Bay Downs. They got two turf sprint races, and also we're going to take a look at Turfway Park. Turfway Park is the John Battaglia Memorial, and um, the Battaglia is a Kentucky Derby prep race. It's a mile and the 16th on the synthetic. It's an evening race, so you'll have all day to comprehend what I'm saying and or say you got no shot, Joe. But apparently, I just got the program now. So You have a full field. You have an overflow field of 14 in the Battaglia Memorial. And we will look over that race on Saturday morning. Um, we will look at the um, we will also look at the stakes race from Gulfstream Park, the Gulfstream Park Sprint. That is a race where um, Gulfstream Park, that is the free race of the day on Daily Racing Forum's website. So as long as you have an account to log into, you can see the program for that particular race. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at the Battaglia. We'll be looking at both sprint races on the turf at Tampa Bay Downs, and maybe even we'll look at that Aqueduct race. So we're guaranteed 4 races on Saturday, which isn't bad considering the 5 races that I want to do on Saturday has been pushed to Sunday. So I will have double duty this weekend. Not double duty in the bathroom because that would really stink. But double duty this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, for also eligible, a special Sunday edition for Oaklawn, and we'll look at a few different races on Saturday as well. So hopefully we can get you guys some winners because I have been ice cold, and it just happens. Sometimes you get on these insane hot streaks and you get these insane cold streaks, and I'm in an insane cold streak right now. I mean, I'm in such an insane cold streak right now that I don't even want to do the spreadsheet on it. That's how bad it is right now. But anyways, back to our regularly scheduled programming. I saw this today. It was actually from the news. Actually came on Tuesday, but I might have printed it up last night. But thought I'd mention this. Um, Howie Roseman may be taking an opportunity, a merchandising opportunity, after taking a beer can to the head during the parade on last Friday. Roseman and his representatives applied to the United States Patent and Trademark Office on last Saturday, to trademark the phrase, "I bleed for this city." Now, videos from the Super Bowl victory parade last Friday showed a flying beer can striking Roseman in the forehead hard enough to draw blood while he was riding on a float up Broad Street. This says down Broad Street. I'm being picky. It went up Broad Street. You went from south to north. That's up. But this is probably some writer that doesn't know left from right, north from south, whatever. But in the ultimate display of Philly toughness, Roseman quickly shrugged off his wound and got right back to the revelry. Now, from what it looked like he got hit with the bottom of the can. So if he got hit with the top of the can because the bottom of the can is more rounded, because it doesn't scratch up anything, your table or whatever you have your can on. If it had been the top, and also because you had the pull tab there as well, probably had a lot more damage to his head. But he was probably drunk out of his mind as well. And this is the same thing they did in 2018 where they were throwing beers to the Eagles. Um, it was almost. I mean, it almost had a Mardi Gras feel to it, except it wasn't throwing beads and women would show their tits and everything. But you know, it was definitely something. There were, it was a party atmosphere. Um, but you know, I mean, those things happen, and he wasn't paying attention, and that thing, stuff like that happens every once in a while. But when Roseman addressed the Eagles fans on Friday, and Michael noticed, he opened up by addressing the cut on his forehead. by addressing it with the Lombardi Trophy in one hand, a victory cigar in the other. The general manager shouted into the microphone, "I bleed for this city." So this trademark application was filed the following afternoon by the newly formed Bleeding Bird LLC and lists attorney Timothy J. Hoy of Wasserman Media Group as its primary contact. The filing says Roseman and his team plan to develop a clothing line around the "I bleed for the city" phrase. Trademark attorney Josh Gerben discovered the filing and posted on Tuesday morning on X. Roseman's representative filed for the trademark on his behalf to prevent potential misuse. Smart move. A source with knowledge of the situation told Yahoo Sports Tuesday afternoon. Proceeds from any use, according to the source, could result in charitable donations. And I'm more than okay with charity getting involved. Like kind of like when I have a big paycheck, I give half my check to charity, and when she's not there, I give to Destiny. But Roseman's been with the Eagles organization for over 25 years. He's been the general manager since 2010, except he had a couple of years there where Chip Kelly made him sit in the back corner of the NovaCare complex. So under his leadership, the Eagles reached 3 Super Bowls. They won 2 of them, and we might have a new phrase to go by next year. So we'll see where that leads. I hope it's done because, I wouldn't mind an "I bleed for the city" t-shirt or whatever. But we'll see if it happens. Now, I saw this. This came up earlier today. Actually, it popped up late this afternoon. And first of all, shocker that it's a bipartisan bill in Congress right now because, the way everything is in politics, you look at the votes for whatever bill is being voted on. If it leans towards the left, all the Democrats vote for it, all the Republicans vote against it. And when it's a Republican bill, all the Republicans go for it, all the Democrats are against it. So, I mean, that's the state of politics in this country for the most part, and it's why I choose not to talk politics on this show, especially talking about the political footballs that come about. Now, this kind of is politics, but it's about sports safety. But um, the NFL, MLB, NCAA, and NASCAR, they're supporting a bill introduced in Congress on Thursday that would give state and local law enforcement the ability to disable drones during sporting events, which the leagues say have become an increasing threat. And we see even like some of the news stories over the last couple of years with what's going on in Ukraine that there's been fighting with drones. So we did have that. Now this bill, and the reason why I say it's bipartisan is because Senator Tom Cotton, a Republican from Arkansas, and Senator Jackie Rosa, a Democrat from Nevada, the bill that's entitled the Disabling Enemy Flight Entry and Neutralizing Suspect Equipment, aka the Defense Act, would provide the tools for local and state law enforcement to protect citizens. And you have to do. And the thing is, I will gladly take away some of my rights as an American if it means safety for all. And you'll see what I mean in a couple of minutes with that. You know, I have a right to sit at a game, but I also have a right to feel like I'm safe. Um, Now, only federal law enforcement, and this is important to note, only federal law enforcement on site at events such as the Super Bowl, World Series, Rose Bowl, and the Boston Marathon can disable unauthorized drones currently. Nearly all other major sporting events, including thousands of NFL and MLB games, do not have officials on site with the legal authorization to quickly remove a drone threat. So there was one game I would say close to 10 years ago. There was a drone that flew right near Citizens Bank Park at the end of the game, near the end of the game once. Um, but Cotton said, Senator Tom Cotton said, um, federal agents represent a small fraction of law enforcement, and there are not enough to man large-scale sporting events on site. They need these local and state authorities to protect the restricted airspace. Agreed. And also, with where the stadiums are in Philadelphia, yeah, the drones are annoying. Now, and I think what's going to happen with this is you're going to see somebody complain, and they're going to say, well, I did see that drone flying around the stadium. Well, guess what? That was approved by the federal government because it was a drone for NBC Sports, or it was a drone for CBS or ESPN or whatever. What you're doing is totally different and could be leading to a catastrophic event. So, in the press release, Cotton's office said the four leagues have endorsed this bill that I mentioned. If enacted, the legislation would dramatically increase the security of our stadiums and the safety of the 70 million fans who attend our games annually, MLB Senior Vice President and Security Ballpark Operations David Thomas said in a statement. 700 million people. Now, granted, some people are being counted 81 times for games, but now the NFL said that in the 2023 season alone, it experienced more than 2,800 drone incursions into the temporary restricted airspace around the stadiums, which the FAA defines as below 3,000 feet and within 3 nautical miles of the stadium from 1 hour before until 1 hour after the game. And also, with where the stadiums are in Philadelphia, I don't know if that's something on top of what may be restricted airspace because of the fact that the the path to get to the airport is literally right behind the stadium. So I don't know if that supersedes anything, but I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud here, but it may be outside that area that we're talking about. But the NFL had to pause the AFC Championship game in January 2024 between Baltimore and Kansas City after a drone entered the stadium's restricted airspace. The drone operator pleaded guilty to violating national defense airspace. Now, that was a game in Baltimore, and maybe I should have paid more attention to the game, and probably Jim Nance and Tony Romo didn't realize what the delay was about, or they were told not to mention it because you might not want to spike up any security concerns on TV. I don't know, or maybe they did, and I just don't remember it. But um, but more recently, on January 11th, a wild card game between the Ravens and the Steelers, That was temporarily suspended when a drone flew over the bowl of M&T Bank Stadium. The alleged drone operator is facing multiple federal charges. Now, both of those games were in Baltimore, so you're looking at a problem in Baltimore potentially, if you think about it. But now, the new bill would apply only to sporting events that already have a temporary flight restrictions, including stadiums and ballparks with more than 30,000 people and outdoor gatherings of more than 100,000 people. That would include all NFL, MLB, NCAA Division I football games, NASCAR, IndyCar, and Champ Series races. Um, NFL Chief Security Officer Kathleen Neer told Congress in December that intelligence agencies continue to warn that terrorist groups could target stadiums and other mass gatherings. Yeah, that's why you're trying to do this, because you're trying to do whatever you can to prevent it. And if they know something was going to happen and they did not act, yeah, we got a major problem in our government. Lanier testified that earlier this year, Islamic State propaganda specifically encouraged attacks on stadiums, including referencing the Paris Summer Olympics. Social media posts recently threatened drone attacks at the Cricket World Cup on Long Island. Um, so the bill would require law enforcement officers to complete counter drone training and mandate federal agencies to create a list of approved drone mitigation technology. Now, what would that entail? So drones can be disabled in a number of ways, according to Michael Robbins, who is the president and CEO of the American Association of Uncrewed Vehicle Systems International. It's a trade association that represents the drone industry. The most effective way, the way that's used in most cases, is to find the operator and ask or demand that the operator land the drone. That really will work. You know, and I'm sure it's probably some really drunk guy playing around with the drone and all that, you know? So, if not, law enforcement can jam a drone's radio frequency, grab it with a net, ram it with another drone, or shoot it out of the sky. Most commercially available drones are programmed to land or return to their point of origin if they lose their link to the operator. Now, it's not clear what the opposition to this bill will face, but Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, a Republican, blocked the bill last year that would have provided state and local law enforcement the ability to track drones after several sightings alarmed residents in New Jersey and New York. Um, Paul said on the Senate floor in December, history has shown us time and time again how fear and manufactured urgency are used as pretext to expand government power at the expense of freedom. He expressed concerns about surveillance powers potentially violating American privacy rights in the name of security. Well, the thing is with those drones, you know, I think they said, oh, it was nothing. Whatever the Trump administration said right after they got into office. And I will tell you right now, even if it was Kamala Harris that won the election, or if it had been Joe Biden that won, or anybody Democratic, they probably would have said the same thing. Because I think in some regards, you don't want to get anybody overly panicked over something that is innocent. But who knows? But the leagues have been lobbying Congress for a number of years to expand law enforcement's ability to disable drones. Tim Buckley, NCAA Senior Vice President of External Affairs, said in a statement, for several years, the NCAA has expressed concern for the threat that unauthorized drones pose at NCAA championships and college sporting events. The safety of competitors, fans, and staff that work at NCAA events is our top priority. Well, guess what? Something happens, you got to question, you really have to question, is safety a top priority? Now, I understand, you know, even though Rand Paul's comments are out in left field, um, we don't know why the drones were there, and we'll probably never know. But the one thing I will say is, I don't care what it is, but you have to realize that maybe you have to take action, even if it's action that the people don't know about. You know, are they manufacturing fear in some regards with those drones last December? Probably. But you know what? If the news is going to get a tip or two, I'm sure they're going to investigate it because guess what? Let's see if this guy's a whack job or not. But when you start getting 4, 5, 6 calls from that same area of your market or your viewing area and say, "Hey, we're seeing these drones here," and and the number of complaints will substantiate the whack job who you think is the whack job that first called it in. But I'd rather be I'd rather see somebody take action and make sure we're safe as opposed to something happening, especially with everything that's been going on over the last few years. I'd rather be safe than sorry. You know, but I don't know what Rand Paul was thinking in December, but whatever. I'd rather be safe, plain and simple. So, one last sports story here. This is an interesting one, and I don't know if this is something that will pop up in Pennsylvania or New Jersey or Delaware. But First Technology, which is a division of the Santa Anita and Gulfstream Park parent company, First Racing and Gaming. At least I think it's pronounced First Gaming Rating. It's First one slash ST. They're going to offer parimutuel betting on NASCAR events under agreement to make First the exclusive parimutuel wagering partner of the Stock Car Racing Association. I don't know how this is going to work in terms of like, do you go to your local racetrack and do it, or is it on the First Racing app? Is it something else? I don't know. And I think there's a lot more that's going to come down over the next couple of years if this gains traction. No pun intended with auto racing. You need traction to drive the car. But now the launch of parimutuel betting on a sport other than horse or dog racing represents a milestone of sorts in the US where wagering on sports is typically offered through fixed odds markets. Under the parimutuel system, all bets are pooled, with the administrator of the pool taking a cut off the top before payouts are distributed according to the amount of winning wagers in the pool. So let's say win play show wagering in this event, which would be, these wagers would be similar to horse racing. They would take 10, 15, 20% off the top, and the remaining pool would be distributed to everyone who bet that winning driver in this case. So now, in a release, First said that the parimutuel pools on NASCAR events will be offered across web, mobile app, digital channels, and retail or event locations in eligible jurisdictions. The key word there is eligible jurisdictions because it may be that you can do it in New Jersey, but not Pennsylvania. You can do it in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and not New York. Or maybe just be something that's down south. But whatever it is, they're trying to come up with something new here. Um, but sports wagering has exploded since the Supreme Court in 2018 ruled that states could approve the practice. Keith Johnson, who's the president of First Technology, said in an interview on Thursday that the company has begun preparing applications to state regulatory agencies to get approval for the betting. Now, whether it happens or not, we don't know, but I imagine they're going to go probably Nevada, New York, Pennsylvania, because those are the highest wagering states. And then on top of that, probably go to states where NASCAR is king, especially down south, where sometimes you question if somebody became legally brother and sister over the weekend. But um, Johnson said, we've got a list of states that we think would be willing to go ahead with this. And then we're also looking at market size. So, it isn't like they're just going to say, hey, we're going to put this in Kansas. You got to see what the money is there and all that. And will they bet it? Because I think you need to look at sportsbook wagering and also horse racing numbers. Um, Now, First Technologies will also need to strike agreements with mobile sports betting operators and brick and mortar sports books to offer parimutuel wagering to their customers. Under the NASCAR agreement, First Technologies will only be operating the back end of the business rather than developing its own application or offering parimutuel NASCAR betting through its existing horse racing ADW Express Bet. So NASCAR usually features 36 cars. They go up to 40. Um, that would offer a rich menu of possibilities and parimutuel wagering tools. Kind of like, just think of it as every every race is like the Kentucky Derby on steroids with 40 cars. But um, so you could have bets that can run from win, place, and show to exactas, trifectas, superfectas, as well as multi-race bets. I imagine the multi-race bets would be like the segments of the race because you have like 3, 4 segments of the race, so it'd be like a pick four. So you could probably do that. Um, Now, according to Johnson, the vast majority of fixed odds bets currently made on NASCAR races are win bets. They said the company is hoping to expand the offerings to multi-race bets and expect to offer in-race pools that open and close within a matter of minutes. So you'd have to be on your phone ready to go, or you have it up on your computer ready to go. There's a lot we can offer both pre-event or in running that don't lend themselves to fixed odds markets very well. And if this works, then maybe you get something going in your favor, but we'll see. But um, but I do have one last story here tonight, and it's the return to the stupid shit I saw segment. And this is a story that I found earlier today on Instagram. And those that follow me on Instagram at Joe Quills, I did say on there, um, I did say on there, um, if I find this story to be true and there's an article, tonight's show might have a stupid shit I saw segment. So I did find it. I did find the article. It seems legit. So I am going to tell you about what happened in Austin, Texas a few days ago. Matter of fact, I am going to play this story from YouTube. It's from Straight Arrow News. Um, um, it may be a little bit different from this article here, um, but this story's from 10 days ago. The article's from 4 days ago, so I don't know. Um, I could do some research here while we're looking at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to play this YouTube video. It's about American Airlines flight that was delayed because a Wi-Fi network name had the word bomb in it. BOMB. So here's the story here. And I will disappear for a second. You can see the story and we'll go from there.
Imagine being on a flight only for it to end up getting delayed for hours over a Wi-Fi network name. That's what happened last week to passengers getting ready for takeoff when someone on the plane named their Wi-Fi hotspot, "There is a bomb on this flight." It happened Friday on an American Airlines flight scheduled to leave from Austin to Charlotte. The pilot returned the plane to the gate after a concerned passenger showed the flight attendant the name on their phone. The pilot initially said the delay was due to an administrative issue, but eventually came out to tell the passengers what was really going on and asked the person who did it to come forward. When no one did, all passengers were escorted off the plane and asked to show police the name of their hotspot. The TSA re-screened everyone and checked their bags for explosives. Once cleared, the flight finally took off more than 4.5 hours late. There's no word on whether officials found the person who did it or whether anyone was taken into custody. This isn't the first time something like this has happened on a flight. On the 9/11 anniversary in 2014, a passenger was detained at Seattle-Tacoma Airport after naming their Wi-Fi hotspot Southwest Bomb on Board, changing it to "The bomb is on this seat." A TSA spokesperson told ABC News in a statement regarding this latest incident that they take bomb threats very seriously. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Kara Rucker. For all your latest news headlines, you can download the Straight Arrow News mobile app today.
So somebody had had a Wi-Fi hotspot that that had had the word bomb in it. Um, and the thing is, it's shit like this is not funny, and this is exactly why I call stupid shit, because you want to go to jail for a couple years because of that, at minimum. Um, so apparently, now I didn't even know you could be in airplane mode and have a hotspot going at the same time, but I don't know. I'm not going to try that on a plane, but because it had the word bomb in there. Um, they're flying from Austin, Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina. It was delayed for over 4 hours. Um, so so apparently somebody saw it. They let an attendant know or whatever. Um, they did whatever they could to make the delay as little as possible. When nobody wanted to fess up to this, which is not a surprise because they're going to become Bubba's bitch once once they find out who it is. Um, they decided, okay, well, guess what? We're going back. We're going to investigate. We have to clear everything now because we're going to make sure there's not a bomb on this flight. And that's why they waited 4.5 hours because they had to get clearance for everything. Um, you know, they gave a chance, and Mike says it perfectly here: $2 brain with 50-cent intelligence. But they tried to mitigate the situation. If this is a joke, please raise your hand because we can deal with the practical joke differently if this if we have to do a full-blown investigation what's going on here. And they had to do a full-blown investigation because nobody wanted to step up. So and the thing is, the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, that it takes that it that they and their partners take bomb threats very seriously, and rightfully so. We deserve to get to go from point A to point B safely. Um, all baggage was rescreened, and authorities checked each baggage compartment on the aircraft. So they weren't fucking around. And when you do something like this, you know, you think it's funny, but like Mike said, $2 brain, 50-cent intelligence. You prove that maybe you just don't deserve to be a free man or woman. But like the reporter said, I don't think they found out who it was, but even so, it just seems like Mike said, $2 brain, 50-cent intelligence. And this is definitely something that I like to have with, stupid stuff. Now, the stupid stuff this time was somebody acting like an asshole doing something like this. But, a lot of times the stupid stuff that I see is funny. This wasn't funny. And now, if I found out who that person was, yeah, I'll go to jail for beating the shit out of somebody for doing something stupid like that. I'd have to explain it to my employer, redacted, that, oh, why'd you get into a fight with somebody? Well, I'm protecting my fellow plane travelers because somebody had a hotspot named "I have a bomb" or whatever it is. I mean, that's the problem that I have. That everybody thinks they're funny. Well, sometimes you just don't go in that direction, which they did. So, but just a reminder, uh, the big announcement that I was teasing the other night, and I had to do some research. I did some research this morning. We are going to have double barreled, also eligible action, yo. We're going to be live both Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. Saturday, we're going to look at a race from Gulfstream, 2 races from Tampa, a race from Turfway Park. We might even get a race from Aqueduct. So we may be all over the place on Saturday. Sunday will be what I had planned to do on Saturday, which is the races at Oaklawn Park. They have a Kentucky Oaks prep race, the Honeybee. They have the Rebel. That is a Kentucky Derby prep race. They have a couple of other supporting stakes races, and a lot of stuff to talk about over the next couple of days. So tune in. That'll be on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube, Bleacher Brothers Twitch, Bleacher Brothers X, and wherever I go to. So that is going to be it for this Thursday show. I think I may even sneak in a Philly fade on Saturday during the show. as well. So, because I'm starting to getting back into the sportsbook gambling side of things now because I have received my tax refund already. So I actually have a little bit of money that I can dabble a little bit with, and hopefully get some get some winners and build some bankrolls. So um, and also check out bleacherbrothers.com. We have promotions for several books. The one thing I would tell you guys is, um, ch- um, sometimes you have to check to see if certain uh, betting platforms are available in your state, and there is a link for that. I don't think I have it set up on here, so I got to get that link and post it, um, so I can have it where I can use a command and boom, it'll come up on your screen there. So, but you know, check out BleacherBrothers.com for all your sports needs. There's also a banner right now to get your Eagles championship gear, and Mike, I got my last piece of the championship gear that I got. Now, I got the NFC championship towel. I also got the Super Bowl towel. And on the other side, it says Super Bowl 49 champions. And it says Super Bowl champions in the Eagles colors there as well. So I'm thinking that may go behind me just to remind people that we are in the words of Bruce Buffer, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions of the world, or something to that effect. But so, um, so that is going to be it. Mike, thank you for joining me tonight. Everybody on X, anybody who's watching behind the scenes and being quiet, I do appreciate everybody. Um, we're going to go double barreled this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Mike will be back here on Monday. And, Monday for the Joe Quill show, Saturday and Sunday, double barreled, also eligible. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll see you in the winner's circle. Have a great weekend, everybody, if you don't join me for also eligible, or have a great night if you are going to join me for also eligible on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Have a great night, everybody.